Welcome ladies and gentlemen, my name's Ursa here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be taking a look at my top 10 favorite Titan exotics in Destiny 2. And as always, this is a completely subjective list based on my own opinion of my own playtime on Titan. I definitely play the Titan the most, and I'm definitely a Titan main, as well as the opinion of my buddy Zoomzy, who's a very good PvP player and plays Titan pretty much the entire time. So check out a link to his Twitch in the description down below for his gameplay you see on screen now, as well as his obvious Titan skills. And of course, as always, throughout the video, you'll be seeing this beautiful spreadsheet on screen. I make spreadsheets for all sorts of things on my channel, so check those out in the playlist that I have on my channel. But if you wanted to get access to these spreadsheets that are fully public for you guys to use, head over to my Discord server found in the description down below, and in the channel #SpreadsheetStocks, you find a link to all my spreadsheets and all the build documents I make for you guys. And if you do appreciate these spreadsheets and these videos, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. And if you don't like the video, make sure you leave a dislike and unsubscribe. And definitely do not hit that bell. That is for the people who like my content. I don't know why I said that, but it felt right. Moving on to the main section of this video, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the spreadsheets and talking about all of my top 10 favorite Titan exotics in the game, and of course also briefly touching on the other exotics that did not make the cut. In case you've never seen them before, these are my spreadsheets. They've got pictures, they've got exotic intrinsic, they've got recommendations for the best mods on it and other armor pieces, and they've got a full score rundown for PvP and PvE. And again, this video is going to be a top 10 of all exotics for both types of modes, but I did also include a full rating of each one of these as well, which I think is really useful. And in case you were wondering, on the right side there is a big legend for all the colors and acronyms, so check that out if you're going to be using the spreadsheet. And as you can tell, I don't really do my top 10s as most people do. You can obviously see what my top 10 favorite exotics are right here, or go to the spreadsheet yourself and see them even before getting to this part in the video. But the reasons why I place them in the place that they are is very important. Why certain things are not part of the meta and why other things are. Right, so first I'm going to go over all of the non-ranked items very briefly, talking about why they're not part of the meta, why they have a lot of holes in them, and then working my way backwards through the top 10. First up, we have the Eternal Warrior, an exotic that I used to use as the poster child of bad exotic. Is actually better than I thought it was, allowing you to have an overshield during your Fist of Havoc. I used to think it was just one extra bullet, as most overshields are, but the fact is that you actually have super resistance, so it's actually 4 extra 150 hand cannon headshot, and that's a pretty significant amount. That's almost double the amount of shots that you would normally take during that super. And on top of that, the overshield does charge back, but even then it's mostly one of those things that you swap to when you have your super and then you swap away from it, and only really feasible on PC. For the Khepri's Horn, allows you to get your barricades a lot faster with solo kills, and sometimes even fully one-shot enemies with that double attack from the barricade. But that's often a clunky thing to do. It's weird to aim, it takes a long time for your barricade to come up, that animation makes you vulnerable, lots of issues with it. And also it looks really ugly. The Mask of the Quiet one of the more glitchiest items in the game. It's extremely inconsistent for me. Grants ability energy when you're damaged, which is very poor by the way, and when you're critically wounded you regain max health on kills. My experience, I've almost never had maximum health on kills, and the critically wounded is not always just red health. It's sometimes less than red health, so I'm not exactly sure where that comes into play, and honestly, One-Eyed Mask gives you an overshield, which is better than just healing. The Feedback Fence. You get melee kills, builds up energy on your armor. You get punched, it releases that energy doing damage. That amount of damage is not really significant. It's definitely not a one-shot or half health enemy attack. It also gives you more resistance after getting punched, but once you're punched, you're probably going to die from one shot to anything anyways. The Aeon Safe. Do I need to say it again? The Ashen Wake, an exotic that's actually pretty decent, allowing your final blows from your fusion grenades to give you grenade energy. About half your grenade just from getting a final blow with it. It's actually pretty strong. So shoot them once with a hand cannon and then hit them with his grenade and you're probably going to get a kill. A pretty powerful wombo combo for sure. In PvE, it does fall off a little bit because it's a high damage grenade but a low blast radius. So you're not likely to get more than one kill, and of course charge that grenade back immediately. The Titan's Ramparts allows you to shoot through your barricade, which actually has less health, which is basically your free shot sniper perch, which is really popular in Trials of Osiris because if you can get one snipe kill on the enemy team, a 3v2 is easier to handle and allows you to get that number advantage and then rush the enemy. So it's definitely popular in Trials, but not really much outside of that. The Stronghold gives you different bonuses to your swords that are not really important to doing DPS and PvE, and therefore it's really not that great. And in PvP, how often you actually have sword energy. The Ursa Furiosa used to be a lot better of an exotic, but ever since they changed it so you can only have one weapon damage bonus and one enemy debuff bonus, this thing completely fell apart because its bonus is around 20% shooting through the banner shield, and the bubble again is a 30% bonus, so most of the time you're going to use bubble over anything of this sort. The Worm God Caress, giving you more melee damage from getting melee kills, used to be insanely powerful, allowing you to 7-punch the Zolmak dungeon boss, which is ridiculous, and now these days is more of a fun melee build extraordinaire use, but even then is very dangerous, definitely not endgame. The Acton War Rig, I like to think of it as an extended mag for your autos and heavy machine gun. In PvP, oftentimes your autos have plenty of ammo in your magazine anyways, but it can be a benefit if you really need it. And in PvE, for DPS with Xenophage, some people have found it useful, but for Garden of Salvation, I can just switch to a sniper, use all the ammo in that, and by that time, usually the boss is dead anyways, or at least the boss is floating down to the ground. So it can have uses, but I don't need it. The Armamentarium, pretty much across the board, I've always disrespected an additional charge of grenade, melee, and of course class ability. The idea and the benefit of an additional charge is that they're charging while you have a charge active. So you have a grenade in your pocket, waiting for that perfect chance to use it, and of course charging your second grenade. So in reality, you're going to be tossing more grenades because of this, but it does not actually give you a faster charge, which is what I actually prefer. And honestly, I was a little bit scared this time because it was at like number 11 or 12 on the list and almost got in the top 10. Just don't tell anybody, okay? Because then my reputation is lost. The Severance Enclosure gives your charged melees and finishers an explosion around you with about a cooldown of 4 seconds. Not really that much damage and not really that much radius, and even the higher value finishers in PvE, more damage, more radius is just not very much. The Intaeus Wards used to be at a 9.5 out of 10. The highest rank outside of the One-Eyed Mask back in its heyday that I've ever given an item. This thing was incredibly powerful until the last few weeks of last season where they nerfed it so you actually have to get sprinting for a while, kind of like shoulder charge, before you can get that deflection, which makes it still an okay item because that deflection is still powerful and can be used if you plan them out better, but not nearly as good as it used to be. The MK44 stand-aside's a more general and kind of poor man's version of Insurmountable Skull for it because the fact that it gives you that overshield while you're at full health, while sprinting at full health with the shoulder charge, and only gives you half of your melee back. So not very many situations that I ever want to use it in. Honestly, I think they need to completely rethink this exotic. The Peacekeeper, giving you a number of bonuses to your SMGs, not really important to get your handling and movement speed with those SMGs, and if you ever thought about going double SMGs with the Huckleberry Recluse combo, having double SMGs is just never a good idea. You have no range, and you're better off DPS-wise with a shotgun. I feel like there could be so much more with this exotic. Perhaps if we got a heavy SMG, but that sounds weird. For the Peregrine Greaves, allows your shoulder charge to one-shot every super in the game in PvP while in the air. The problem being is that they're completely useless until enemy supers come out, because pretty much everything else you can one-shot with its shoulder charge anyway. But you know, who knows? Maybe this will be useful for Iron Banner if you're really under-leveled and allows you to actually one-shot enemies, which is infuriating when you don't. And finally, for the Phoenix Cradle, it used to be pretty highly rated with the Hellfire Heart, both at 9 out of 10. They have dropped pretty considerably since last time. I did probably overrate them pretty significantly last time. For the most part, I would say Solar Supers have actually fallen out of the meta pretty far. Their grenades are also really not that great for either PvP or PvE. Their subclasses were highly dependent on that hammer strike, which is not really how people get damage anymore, and it's often very dangerous. So it's just kind of a super that hasn't, or a subclass that hasn't really been needed, and therefore their exotics and the benefits they give are also not really needed either. And right smack dab in the middle of this video, just wanted to mention that I have a giveaway going on right now. So if you wanted to win yourself an Astro A10 headset, a Blue Yeti microphone, or a tub of 100 servings of Gamersupps, check out in the description down below for a link to the giveaway details. And on top of that, the first 25 people to use Diachronic US free on the Gamersupps website will be able to get their free samples with free shipping in the United States. If you ever wanted to try Gamersupps, you can do it for literally completely free. You don't have to make an account, you don't have to enter a credit card, completely free with, again, the code Diachronic US free at checkout on those free samples. So it's completely free. Go check it out. Moving on to the top 10, starting up at number 10. A lot of people yammering about this in the comments pretty consistently, not being in the top 10. We have the Heart of Inmost Light. It's pretty good, honestly. It's a very good exotic. I'm not going to doubt that or throw shade at it. It's just not as good as everyone's been saying it. Now, what happens with this exotic allows you to charge your grenade, melee, and barricade faster by using one of the other abilities, and of course that it also empowers those abilities, allowing your grenade and melee to do more damage and your shield to do or soak up more damage, which is actually the best part about it. The ability to do more damage with your lightning grenade, magnetic grenade, or fusion grenade allows you to one-shot in PvP just by putting a barricade down and then using it. However, that is a bit clunky and is often the reason why it's not very high rated in PvP. But you can do it, and that's strong. And it's also universal across any of the classes, which is nice. Coming up at number 9, we have the Hallowfire Heart, one of my favorite exotics in the entire game. Been using it since the beginning of the game to give me ridiculous grenade and melee recharge rates. However, I will say that it has fallen apart. It used to be at like number 1 or number 2 on my list, has fallen apart because these solar subclasses in general just have become less and less useful. Specifically, the Hammer Strike, my favorite part about it, is not really used that much these days. Pretty much nowhere in the Garden of Salvation raid, in the Crown of Sorrows raid, can you really get much bonus out of using Hammer Strike. And even then, your grenade's also really not that powerful. Thermite grenades, fusion grenades, incendiaries are just kind of middling. There are better options. That being said, most people actually don't know what this exotic does specifically. It improves the recharge rate of your solar abilities, allowing your melee and your grenade to charge twice as fast off the bat with nothing, and when your super is recharged, you can actually get 4 times the speed, bringing your grenade recharge from like 80 seconds down to 20 seconds, and with a bunch of other discipline bonuses and impact induction and a demolitionist weapon, I've gotten my grenades down to 6 seconds consistently, which is really strong, really powerful, and I love thermite grenades. I have way too many kills. So if you're ever using solar, Hallowfire is a good option. At number 8, we have the Crest of Alpha Lupi. Every single time Zoomzy and I look at this exotic, we go, well, I have not used this exotic in like 7 seasons, but damn, it has a good perk. And honestly, I would like everybody on my team to be using this thing, but I myself do not want to use it because it's kind of boring. This is gonna be the Titan support exotic. Now, it's not something that I would specifically recommend you use in every single scenario or general scenarios, because oftentimes you'll need specific exotics like the One-Eyed Mask or the Helm of Saint 14, but the ability to spawn an extra orb of light from your super, and for those supers that actually get kills with the roaming supers, you have to actually get a kill with it, is really strong. Not only gives your team more supers, it gives them charge with light with the taking charge bonuses that are really common these days, and gives you more points in Nightfalls. And on top of that, you get a healing pulse whenever you put your barricade down. So you get 50% of your health back whenever you're low health. You put a barricade huddle in the corner, you have more health and more protection, which is an often overlooked part about this. So as we've said, it's a good exotic, but it's also boring. Coming up at number 7, we have the Lion Rampant, an exotic that I used in one of my more recent Titan PvP videos, where it's all about that hipfire shooting with last word or anything with hipfire grip while defensive floating above doorways, which is really actually quite strong, and more people should do it more often. And of course, the PvE side of it is that you move faster, it's great for jump puzzles, and you can also shoot while flying, so it's very aggressive. Yeah, a lot of good stuff here, and it's definitely one of those exotics that you're probably going to put on your character weekly if you play pretty consistently. The Synthoceps, a really, really good exotic. Used to be a lot better when supers were needed for boss damage, but still a really good exotic. For the PvP side, the increased melee lunge range allows you to surprise your enemy more often than not, throwing off their tempo completely, forcing them to panic, maybe melee early, and that'll give you the edge in a lot of engagements. And it's never a bad thing to be able to do things from a farther range. On top of that, if you're surrounded in PvP, which is 2 or more people, and the more people that are around you, the more damage you deal with your melee and your super, allowing you to one-shot melee enemies when there are 3 people around you. On top of that, if you combine that with Code of the Juggernaut and the Frontal Assault charged melee, you can get healed off of your first melee, get a damage bonus to one-shot that second guy, and then of course get the damage bonus on top of that to one-shot the third guy, allowing you to handle those 2v1s and 3v1s more consistently. And honestly, it surprises the hell out of people. You survive so many shots of melees in a row, and you're just running through and punching everybody. And on top of that, you can also one-shot enemy supers with your super when you're surrounded, which is also strong. Now, flopping over to the PvE side, the melee part of it is not really important because melees are quite dangerous. The best part of it for PvE, the higher rated part, is going to be that extra super damage. And in Master and Grandmaster Nightfalls, having extra super damage is really strong because of the fact that you're more resistant in super, you can take aggro from your entire team, and you can also do a lot of damage and kill a lot of enemies more often than not. Coming up at number 5 in this top 10 countdown, we have the One-Eyed Mask. Still a very strong and also probably the most common PvP exotic for Titan. The ability to highlight enemies helps you find enemies when they're shrouded in foliage or they match the background, and you get an overshield on kills is really obviously very strong in its own right. Something that many people don't know is that it's also good to use in PvE. If you find that you die a lot in raids or in Nightfalls and you're being basically a hemorrhage to your team, instead of using the utility damage bonus of Helm of Saint 14 or Insurmountable Skull for it or whatever, try popping on One-Eyed Mask. You'll survive more often and be more of a benefit to your team. And as I've said on plenty of occasions, not dying is often more important than getting an extra kill. Coming up at number 4 in this top 10 countdown, we have the Helm of Saint 14. A lot of you might think that it should be higher up, and maybe number 1 or number 2 on the list. I will say that this is a good exotic with a good perk, but the best part about it is the bubble and not the exotic, which is why it's rated at number 4. What's good about it is that the bubble can give you this overshield that makes you take so much damage, and you also get the highest weapon damage bonus in the game with Weapons of Light. This exotic allows you to take an overshield out with you and your allies an overshield out with you and blind enemies inside of it, which it does not blind bosses. For the most part, I like using this whenever I'm fighting a boss that I can touch. For example, Zolmak from Pit of Heresy or the Prophecy boss. These enemies, you're going to be right in front of them. You need that big resistance while using your swords inside the bubble, and the ability to step in and out of the bubble to refresh that big resistance and survive whatever attacks that you're going to receive outside of the bubble is going to be the important part of this exotic. At number 3 on this top 10 countdown, we have the Dune Marchers, the number 1 rated PvP exotic for the Titans. And if you played PvP recently, you've been hit by this thing like 40 meters away and you just don't understand what's going on. Now, if you've never heard of it, firstly, it increases your sprint speed, which is very powerful for PvP. For example, I like using recovery, and then my second priority is going to be mobility, so more speed on top of that is always good. And with that, sprinting builds up a static charge, and after melee attacking any enemy, for example, with your shoulder charge that should kill them, that charge then chains damage to nearby enemies. Can you guess how far that is? If the number 20 meters popped in your head, you're a psychopath, because that's how far it is. It's 20 meters. And did you also know that that chain lightning changed to dead enemies as well? So if there's a ghost on the ground, it chains damage to that, which can then make it go 40 meters in that direction? Yeah. This exotic is kind of wacko sometimes. For PvE, I would say the faster sprint and the ability to flinch enemies with that shocky is going to be your biggest benefit, but melee should be avoided in the high level PvE for sure. I can't believe I just said that, because at number 2 we have Insurmountable Skull for it, which is a melee based exotic. However, this one is a little bit different. Firstly, your kills with your arc melee abilities trigger health regeneration, which is what makes it different, and the big part about it, health regeneration helps so much in both PvE and PvP, and completely restores all of your melee energy. You've probably seen these Titans fly around with their shoulder charges, hitting you with a shoulder charge ability, then turning around, hitting your teammate with a shoulder charge ability like 3 seconds later, and of course healing through all of that because of his exotic. And honestly, it's a lot of fun, and it is effective up to the Master Grandmaster threshold, where you're not going to find much use for meleeing an enemy. You're often going to be stuck not killing enemies with it. So as soon as you can't one-shot enemies with his exotic, you're going to have a problem. But outside of that, it's really good. And finally, coming up at number 1 in this top 10 countdown, we have the Doomfang Pauldrons. And it has been so long since I've seen a more well-deserved number 1 position for Titan exotics, because honestly, I can use this in pretty much 95% of everything that I do in Destiny 2. It really is that good. In PvP, I can use it from everything from Trials of Osiris to these 6v6 game modes. In PvE, I can use it in Grandmaster Nightfalls. I can use it in raids. I can use it regular PvE when I need super kills, long-lasting supers. I need protection. I need range. If I'm doing the Whisper mission, I can use it the entire time and not worry. This thing is so good. Now, if you've never heard of it, firstly, your void melee kills give you super energy. And the most important part is while your sentinel shield is active, melee kills recharge your shield throw, meaning that you can get an extra shield throw, and your shield throws extend your super on hits, which is how you're gonna get an infinite super. And if you're using Code of the Aggressor, every time you get a grenade kill, which also includes your shield throw, you also get some shield energy back on top of an extra shield. So here we go. You throw your shield, you get 3 kills with that shield, you get a full shield back, and you also have a second shield if you don't get those 3 kills. And you keep on throwing shields until you run out of shields, and then once you run out of shields, you'll continue to get super along the way, by the way. You go for that melee kill, you get your shield back, and you start chucking your shields again, and getting more shield kills, spawning more shield energy for you. And if you're playing an activity that has Grenadier equipped, for example, back in the day when the Wish for the Worm made a heroic mission, you could have Grenadier. That entire boss fight, you have an infinite super. Because if all you're doing is sending a shield throw out, that super will never end if you keep hitting the boss with it. A single boss, single target, 1 shield throw over and over again, continually stuns him, and you will never run out of super. So, the Whisper mission bosses, 3 of them in a line, you keep hitting all 3 of them, you keep stunning all 3 of them, you keep on not dying because all of the shield throws keep hitting all the enemies, which are all void babes, by the way, and you just stay alive forever. It's too much fun. You have to use it if you don't, and if you don't have one, get one as soon as you can. Oh, and by the way, the same thing applies for PvEP as well. Being able to bounce the shield more often allows you to get more shield throws, which is the best part about that super, which is really strong, allowing you to guard more, less than super more, will actually drastically change your PvP engagements. Right, well, that's going to be the end of this video. I've been talking for about an hour and a half without any AC on right now, and my voice is completely shattered at this point. I need like a whole chonky of water, let me tell you. Don't ask how big a chonky is. Chonkies are exactly how big a chonky is. If you had any questions or concerns about certain exotics they may have overlooked or missed, or maybe underrated, I'm sure I'm going to have a chunky amount of comments down there, so let me know. I'd love to know why you use certain exotics so I can use them in my arsenal, but you have to tell me why. If you're not telling me why, I'm not going to know why. That sounds obvious. I can't tell you how many people have been like, whoa, this dude doesn't even talk about Risk Runner, doesn't even consider it a good or decent or honorable mention. This guy is an idiot. I'm like, dude. Have you ever used it in Grandmaster Nightfall? No, you haven't. That's why I know it sucks, and that's why you don't know it falls off sharply at the master threshold. But yeah, I mean, you couldn't know that because you didn't. Yeah. The condescension right now is at maximum flow. But honestly, so are some of the people in my comments. And let me tell you, some of those comments, they're chunky. Yeah, that's the end of it. Hope you guys did enjoy. My name's Iconic, and I'll see you guys in the next one.